enthusiast, Pokecord enthusiast here, and today we're going to be starting a new series that's going to be taking a look at the different stars inside Pokecord and seeing which one is the best in each generation, which will be done in future videos, and also what the best generation is, and I will go over in a future video more in depth what the best from each generation is and what the best from the best generation is. Basically, I'll just be doing a brief overview of all of the Pokemon here and stating my opinions, and I'll go in depth on all of them for why they're good or why they're bad at a different time. So first off, we have Generation 1. Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle. Now, for those starting off, I would suggest definitely Charmander for this one, as of Charizard X and Y are really versatile and are a staple. If you really want to go a water type Gen 1, you can do Squirtle. Never go Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur is really bad in Pokecord for a couple of reasons that I will be explaining in a future video. Another reason Generation 1 is so good, at least for Charmander and Squirtle, is because they have Mega Evolutions. The starters with Mega Evolutions overall, technically speaking, are obviously going to have higher stats after they're Mega Evolved, so from a gameplay standpoint, a lot of them are going to be better than the other starters. So I'm going to be talking about what the best mega ones are and what the best non-mega ones are. So for Generation 1, I would definitely have to say my pick is Charmander. Next generation is Chikorita, Cyndaquil, and Totodile. Now, for the same reason that Bulbasaur is really bad in Pokecord, Meganium, or Chikorita's final evolution, is really bad as well. Cyndaquil Typhlosion is okay, but it really pales in for Alligator, which is the final evolution of Totodile. For Alligator, just gives you a much better coverage and overall is just better than your other picks. Now we come up in Gen 3, which if we're looking at just like how they stand up when Mega Evolutions are allowed, I would personally say that Generation 3 is the best because all three of their Pokemon can be used, whereas Generation 1's Megas can only be really used on Charmander and Squirtle. Trico, with its final evolution being Sceptile, when it Mega Evolves, though, it gains the Dragon typing, which can help or hurt it. The final evolution of Mudkip, which is Swampert, or in this case Mega Swampert, even just normal Swampert, is really actually kind of broken in Pokecord. Its stats are through the roof. It has higher stats than some legendary Pokemon, with I believe a base stat total of 630 or 635, and then Torchic gives you a solid firefighting type in Blaziken, with it having a variety of moves, mainly being close combat for fighting, Fire Blitz, Flare Blitz for fire, and it also gives you flying coverage actually with Brave Bird. So that's, if we're talking about Megas, I would say that Gen 3 is the best gen overall. Individually, the best Mega Pokemon I would say is arguably Mudkip, or obviously Mega Swampert. So if you really want the best Mega Pokemon in the end, you would want to be looking for a Mudkip or to choose Mudkip. Now, Generation 4, we have Turtwig, Chimchar, and Piplup. Now, I wasn't too, impressed by any of these. I really like Empoleon, or the final evolution of Piplup's typing, being Steel Water. It allows you to do some interesting interactions, but Empoleon's moveset overall isn't the greatest. Turtwig ending up in Torterra. Torterra, once again, I really like the typing, but it has a lot of weaknesses, I would have to say, from Gen 4. I'm going to have to go with Chimchar, who turns out being Infernape. It is another firefighting type, but once again, I'm just talking about the best for every generation, and Chimchar, I do feel like, gives you a better coverage overall than the other two, because yes, they all cover two different areas of moves, but as of Infernape is the fastest of the bunch, it is going to be able to get that first shot off most of the time. And at least a lot more than the others. The next generation, Snivy, Tepig, and Oshawott, I'll be honest with you, this generation I would say is arguably one of the worst generations in I'm going to say that, in my opinion and from my experiences, it is the worst generation for Pokecord. So, uh, Snivy doesn't actually turn out to be anything good. Seviper doesn't have a very good moveset. Tepig, same thing with Embor. I don't feel like it's very versatile at all. Then Oshawott turning into Samurott is going to be the best of the group just because it actually gives you Mega Horn, which gives you bug type coverage. It's actually the only starter in Pokecord that can give you bug type coverage. So that's why I'm going to have to go with Samurott as the best of Gen 5. Now, Gen 6, we've got Chespin, Fennekin, and Froakie. All of these are good for their own different ways. Chespin gives us a fighting grass type, which is an interesting typing and can be useful. Fennekin is turning into Delphox. I'm going to say is definitively the best of the Gen 6s. That Psychic Fire typing is extremely powerful, especially because Delphox can learn Shadow Ball. And then finally, you have Froakie and Greninja. Greninja is actually fairly weak as far as starter Pokemon go. For Pokecord specifically, I know that's not going to hold through to other games, but for Pokecord, he's not a very good pick. Now we have Gen 7 with Rowlet, Litten, and Poplio. So Rowlet find in the entrance into Incineroar. Incineroar is decent, better than some of the other Pokemon. Like, I would argue that definitely Rowlet is better than all of the Gen 5s. It gives you a unique typing in its final form with Decidueye's Grass Ghost typing, and it has an okay amount of coverage. It's another starter Pokemon that gives you flying coverage, which, funnily enough, both the starter Pokemon that do this are also weak to flying themselves. Next, for Generation 8, you have Incineroar. I know I thinking back on it right now, I just said that Rowlet evolved into Incineroar. No, Rowlet, that's Decidueye. Litten evolves into Incineroar, which gives us a dark fire typing. Now, it has some pretty good moves overall. It's just not the strongest Pokemon. And what I would say is the best from Gen 7 is going to be Poplio, which finally turns into Primarina, which that fairy water typing is amazing because it's the only fairy typing overall, and dragons really dominate a lot of metas in Pokecord as a whole, so having that hard counter to them is really big, especially in the form of a water type. Um, so I would say that the best Gen 7 Pokemon would be Primarina, although I really like for Pokecord every single Gen 7, which is why I am saying Gen 7 is the best generation of Pokemon, not including Megas, in Pokecord. Because Generation 3, not including Megas, is still good, but it just doesn't give Sceptile the same like amount of coverage, I feel, as Gen 7 gets as a whole. And then finally, you have Generation 8. Grookey turns into Rillaboom. It's nothing to write home about. It's got your basic grass move and then like a normal type move that's decent that it can use. It's not the best. Scorbunny, which turns up turning into Cinderace. Cinderace I actually find really helpful in taking out flying Pokemon when I'm running my starter gym. That's why I'm mainly doing these videos. As if I run the starter gym, I know a lot about the interactions between starter Pokemon and other Pokemon, as if I have max of every single starter Pokemon now, so I know their interactions with other Pokemon extremely well by now. So Cinderace actually is really good as far as starters go, just because most of the starters, um, the fire ones, a lot of them are fire fighting, uh, like Torchic and Chimchar and Tepig. I mean, it the there was definitely a streak there where they enjoyed their firefighting, but Scorbunny is just fire, and it's amazing at taking out flying types as long as Pyro Ball does not miss. And finally, you have Sobble, which turns into Inteleon at the end. Inteleon is pretty underwhelming. Its only good moves are water type moves, giving it very little coverage, which is why I'm naming Scorbunny the best out of the Generation 8 Pokemon. Now, as stated at the beginning of the video, I will be doing a video focusing specifically on Generation 1, why each Pokemon is bad, the best, and when to use them, what movesets have on them when they're viable. I will be doing deep dives into the generations as a whole, and if there are some generations where I really need to, I am willing to do deep dive videos on individual Pokemon, because I could do a deep dive video on most of these guys individually. Then so that's going to be about it for this video. If you guys have enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button and that like button. We've been growing insanely fast. If we could hit 50 subscribers by the end of May, it is May 25th right now. So if we could get we would only need like 8 subscribers in 6 days. That would be amazing. And also, if you guys want to join in the community, my server Pokecord Enthusiasts, there will be a link to it in the description. You can go there for help on Pokecord. You can go there to learn how to duel. And once we hit, I host giveaways and events. And once we hit 100 members, which we're only 23 away from, I'm going to be hosting a huge giveaway. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you all in the next one.